Let us begin with a confession. Not mine, yours. At some point today, or yesterday, or maybe 3 minutes ago, you did something. Something private. Something you would never, under any circumstances, admit to another human being at a dinner party. You passed gas. And then, with the quiet curiosity of a scientist examining a petri dish, you took a breath. A real one. Not an accident, not a passive inhale. You leaned into it. You sampled your own work. And here is the part that haunts you. It was not that bad. In fact, and you will hate me for saying this, some distant corner of your brain found it almost interesting. Maybe even a little satisfying. Like checking the tissue after you blow your nose. Like picking a scab you know you should leave alone. There was a pull. A weird, shameless gravity that made you stay in the cloud for just 1 extra second longer than you needed to. And now you are here, watching this video. Because the question finally got loud enough to ask, why? Why do you tolerate and sometimes quietly enjoy the smell of your own farts while the faintest whiff of someone else's makes you want to leave the country? This is not a joke question, and the answer is not a joke either. It reaches deep into your biology, your immune system, your evolutionary past, and the very architecture of your brain. It touches on disgust, survival, tribalism, dopamine, and the ancient software still running beneath everything you think makes you civilized. So let us talk about it, all of it, starting with what a fart actually is. A fart is not one thing. It is a cocktail. When you eat, food travels through roughly 30 feet of intestinal tubing, where trillions of bacteria are waiting to break it down. These microorganisms ferment what your body cannot digest on its own. Fiber mostly, complex sugars, certain starches, and in doing so, they produce gas, lots of it. The average human produces between 1 and 4 pints of intestinal gas per day, released across somewhere between 14 and 23 individual events. Yes, someone counted. Now, most of this gas is actually odorless. Nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, sometimes methane. These make up about 99% of the volume. They are the filler, the background noise, the smell. That unmistakable, room-clearing stench comes from the remaining 1%. And within that tiny fraction live some deeply unpleasant molecules. Hydrogen sulfide, the signature rotten egg note. Methanethiol, which adds a decaying cabbage quality. Dimethyl sulfide, indole, scatol, which, and I am not making this up, literally gets its name from the Greek word for dung. These trace gases are produced in different ratios depending on what you eat, what bacteria live in your gut, how fast your digestion moves, and even how stressed you are. This is why your farts do not always smell the same. A day of broccoli and black beans produces a very different signature than a day of white rice and chicken breast. And here is what matters. Your particular combination of gut bacteria is unique, not similar, not roughly the same as your neighbors, unique, like a fingerprint. Which means the gas they produce is also unique. Your farts have a chemical signature that belongs to you, and only you. Your brain knows this, and that is where things start to get interesting. There is a principle in psychology called the mere exposure effect. It was formally described in 1968 by a psychologist named Robert Zions, though humans have been living under its influence for hundreds of thousands of years. The idea is simple. The more you are exposed to something, the more you tend to prefer it. This applies to faces, songs, words, symbols, foods, and yes, smells. Repeated exposure breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds comfort. Not love necessarily, but a softening, a lowering of the guard. Now think about whose smell you have been exposed to more than anyone else's in your entire life. Yours. You have been living inside your own scent cloud since the day you were born. Every bathroom visit, every silent release under a blanket, every long car ride with the windows up. Your nose has logged thousands upon thousands of encounters with your own gaseous output. And each time, your brain filed it under the same category: known, familiar, not a threat. This is not a conscious decision. You did not sit down one day and decide that your farts were acceptable. Your olfactory system made that call for you, quietly, automatically, over years of passive exposure. The signal gets dulled. The alarm does not ring as loud. What would make you gag if it came from a stranger barely registers when it comes from you. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are just well calibrated. Your brain has simply learned that this particular smell, your smell, is not worth panicking over. But familiarity is only part of the story. Let us go deeper. Your gut is home to somewhere between 30 and 40 trillion microorganisms: bacteria, archaea, fungi, viruses. Together, they form what scientists call your microbiome, and it is as individual to you as your face. No two humans on Earth share the exact same microbial community, not even identical twins who grew up in the same house eating the same food. This microbiome is shaped by everything: where you were born, whether you were delivered naturally or by cesarean section, whether you were breastfed, what you ate as a child, what you eat now, the antibiotics you have taken, the pets you have owned, the people you have kissed. And here's the critical part. Your immune system has spent your entire life learning to recognize these microbes as self, as part of the team. Your white blood cells, your gut lining, your entire inflammatory response network, they have all been trained to tolerate your specific microbial residence. This is home flora, friendly bacteria, the colonies that help you digest, produce vitamins, regulate your mood, and keep pathogenic invaders at bay. The gases these bacteria produce carry chemical information. When you smell your own fart, your brain is not just passively registering an odor, it is running a background check. It is comparing the incoming chemical profile against a stored internal database and asking one question: is this mine? And when the answer is yes, the disgust response is dialed down. The alarm stays quiet, because your own microbial output is, in a very real biological sense, safe. It is a status report from your own body. Everything normal, colonies stable, digestion proceeding. But when you smell someone else's gas, the equation changes entirely. Those are foreign microbes, unknown bacteria, a different colony with a different chemical fingerprint, and your brain does not know if those organisms are safe. It does not know if they carry pathogens your immune system has never seen. So it does the only rational thing. It makes you recoil. Let us talk about disgust for a moment, because it is one of the most underappreciated forces in human psychology. Disgust is old, really old. It predates language, predates culture, predates every institution you have ever participated in. It is one of the 6 or 7 universal human emotions, and it evolved for one purpose: to keep you away from things that could make you sick. Think about what disgusts you: rotting food, feces, vomit, open wounds, insects crawling on meat, spoiled milk. These are not random. Every single item on that list is a potential vector for parasites, bacteria, or viral infection. Disgust is your immune system's first line of defense, a behavioral immune system that works faster than antibodies because it stops you from making contact in the first place. Now here is the evolutionary puzzle. If disgust exists to protect you from biological contamination, then logically, you should be disgusted by everything biological, including your own body, your own saliva, your own sweat, your own waste. And to some degree, you are, but not nearly as much as you are disgusted by those same substances when they come from someone else. Think about it. You swallow your own saliva all day without a second thought. But if someone asked you to spit into a cup and then drink it back, you would hesitate. Same substance, same mouth, but now it has been externalized and your brain treats it differently. Your farts operate on a similar principle, but in reverse. They are generated internally, released into your immediate environment, and your brain already has them pre-approved. The disgust circuit recognizes them as self-produced, and it grants them a pass, a VIP lane through your threat detection system. This is not a flaw in the system. This is the system working exactly as intended. Because an organism that was equally disgusted by its own body as by foreign contaminants would be paralyzed. You would not eat. You would not sleep. You would spend every waking moment horrified by the biological reality of your own existence. Evolution solved this by giving you a two-tier disgust system. Tier 1, low sensitivity for self-produced stimuli. Tier 2, high sensitivity for everything that comes from outside. And your farts sit comfortably in Tier 1. But there is still something unexplained. Tolerance is one thing. You can understand why your brain does not panic at your own smell. But enjoyment? That quiet, almost magnetic pull to sample your own output? That needs a different explanation. And it has one. It is called the curiosity loop, and it is driven by dopamine. Your brain is fundamentally a prediction machine. It wants to know what is happening, what is about to happen, and whether the current state of things matches its expectations. When there is a gap between what it expects and what it detects, dopamine fires. Not as a reward exactly, but as a signal of salience. Pay attention. Something here needs evaluation. When you release gas, your brain registers an event. Something just happened in your body. And there is now new sensory data available, smell data. And your brain wants to check it, not because it is pleasant, but because it is information. It wants to close the loop. Predict, sample, compare, confirm. It is the same impulse that makes you look at a wound after you have been cut, the same impulse that makes you check the tissue, the same impulse that makes you smell the milk carton even though you already suspect it is turned. This is not indulgence. This is monitoring. Your body produces a near constant stream of sensory output, and your brain is wired to audit it. Temperature, pain, pressure, smell, taste, these are all channels through which your body reports on its own condition. And your conscious mind, whether you like it or not, is drawn to check those reports. The fart sniff is a micro-diagnostic, a tiny unconscious health check. Your brain is asking, does this smell like it usually does? Is anything different? Is the system running normally? And when the answer is yes, there is a small neurological payoff. A little blip of resolution. Loop closed, status normal, carry on. This is also why a fart that smells unusual, more sulfurous than normal, more acidic, more pungent, grabs your attention even more. Because now the signal has changed and the prediction machine wants to know why. Now let us flip the script. You are on a crowded bus, or in an elevator, or in an open-plan office, because apparently someone decided that the best way to boost productivity was to remove all physical barriers between human beings and their gastrointestinal systems. And it hits you. Someone else's fart. And it is unbearable. It is not just unpleasant, it feels aggressive, personal, like a violation of some unspoken treaty between strangers sharing oxygen. Why is the gap so enormous? Why can you sit peacefully in your own fog but feel genuine outrage at someone else's? Part of it is the familiarity bias we already discussed. Their gas is unfamiliar. Your olfactory system has no stored baseline for it, so it arrives raw, unfiltered, at full intensity. Part of it is the immune response. Foreign bacterial signatures trigger a heightened disgust reaction because they represent potential biological threats your body has not been trained to handle. But there is another layer here, and it is deeply embedded in human social psychology. In-group versus out-group bias. Humans evolved in small, tightly bonded groups, tribes, bands, families. And within those groups, biological tolerance was high. You shared food, you shared sleeping spaces, You shared parasites, honestly. Your immune systems co-adapted, your microbiomes overlapped. The smell of your kin was, to some degree, your own smell. But outsiders were different. Their biology was unknown, their microbes untested. And evolution installed a very efficient heuristic to deal with this uncertainty. If it smells foreign, treat it as dangerous. This is not just about farts. This same logic applies to body odor, breath, the way unfamiliar food smells in someone else's kitchen. Humans are wired to be more tolerant of biological signals from those they are close to, and more reactive to the same signals from strangers. Studies have actually shown this. People rate the body odor of their romantic partners as significantly less unpleasant than the body odor of strangers, even when the objective chemical intensity is the same. Mothers can identify their own baby's smell from a lineup of other babies, and they consistently rate their own child's diaper as less disgusting. Your nose is not a neutral instrument. It is a tribal instrument. It reads the world through the lens of self versus other, safe versus unknown, mine versus theirs. And on that bus, in that elevator, in that open-plan office, the stranger's fart is not just a bad smell. It is an other smell, and that makes it infinitely worse. So here you are, at the end of a video about farts. And somehow, without anyone planning it, we have talked about immunology, microbiology, evolutionary psychology, dopamine signaling, disgust theory, tribal cognition, and the mere exposure effect. All because you were curious about why your own gas does not bother you. And I think that is beautiful. Not the gas, the curiosity. Because this is what humans do. We notice the small, strange, embarrassing things about ourselves, and instead of looking away, some of us lean in. We ask why. We dig. We follow the thread from a bathroom joke to the architecture of the brain, and we realize that nothing about us is random. Nothing is accidental. Every quirk, every cringeworthy habit, every guilty little behavior has a story behind it. And that story usually stretches back thousands or millions of years. You are not weird for sniffing your own farts. You are running a biological monitoring protocol that predates civilization. You are executing an immune calibration behavior that kept your ancestors alive. You are closing a dopamine-driven curiosity loop that is the same loop responsible for science, exploration, and every meaningful discovery in human history. You are, in short, doing exactly what a human is supposed to do. The fact that it involves gas is just evolution being efficient. Not elegant, not dignified, but efficient. So the next time you find yourself alone in the aftermath of your own personal atmospheric event, and you catch yourself taking that extra breath, do not be ashamed. You are not disgusting. You are ancient. And your nose knows exactly what it is doing.